Do we do an intro? I'm James from Unified Goods. We're here in Ghent in Belgium at Deewee Studios. I'm with Soulwax and we're here to chat to Dave and Steph, and we're going to jump in and see what's going on. For me, this is like an exploration in the joys of physical media, which I think you guys share quite an affiliation with, and it'd be great to stir.
Well, it's definitely something it's collectible now, but it's also stuff that, I mean, essentially, records. Vinyl was something that, like there wasn't, other than cassettes, there was no other. So we were collecting it as kids. Yeah. And our dad was a radio DJ at the time. So his collection is something, we just grew up around records. Like we grew up around the paraphernalia of a guy who's on the radio and record companies want to plug records too. So
he got sent records.
He got sent records, and we had, posters and promotional T-shirts and all that stuff was what we grew up around, and we were aware that it wasn't like other kids didn't have that, but that didn't necessarily mean that we would go into making music, right? So that the point where we started to make music was almost like was surprising, even though it seems kind of obvious if you grow up around all that stuff. But so what I mean is, like, the physical media is just something that it's normal. Like, it just became normal. And then throughout the years, it became, as those formats started to die off, it became the kind of thing that we still had some, like laser discs or VHS or like all the stuff is stuff that most of it is what we still had, but then also over the years, when people start throwing away stuff, that's usually when we get interested. Earlier, we were having a chat downstairs when we were looking at all the gear. It was similar. Like when we started to make music, we started buying the stuff cheaply that people weren't.
It wasn't desirable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is very desirable now.
Thank God.
But you say thank God, but we're never going to sell it. So it's not of course. So it's not like we're sitting on a pot of gold that, like, one day, I don't see us ever sell. Oh yeah, famous last words.
Probably our kids will be like, "Why did you leave this for us?"
Yeah,
they're like, "There's no need for this."
Yeah, so it's a thin line between curation and hoarding. And we walk that line on a daily basis.
Do you remember?
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
It's a fine line between hoarding.
It's a tightrope.
It is. It is a tightrope.
It's sort of. I mean, we were chatting before, Dave, as well, about, like, sort of, you're surrounded by this stuff all day long: records, music, papers, laser discs, and then you get home and the last thing you want to see on the dining room table is another laser disc or an 8-track, just because you need space to breathe as a human after being around that stuff all day, right?
Well, and luckily, because we all have young kids, so that's also an impetus not to have any of that stuff around and just focus on stuff that they like.
But your dad obviously didn't feel the same way.
But we loved it.
But I think he used the records because he had to prepare shows, and so the records were all over the living room.
Wow.
But also, we loved it. Like, we loved that. When they had a backpack with a Blondie or whatever. Or I remember as a 5-year-old, remember Stray Cats, the band Stray Cats. They had they had a promotional metal comb. And our mum did, like, put gel in our hair, and then we got the comb put in our back. Like, it was that kind of stuff, like you live.
There's also the ZZ Top logo. Our dad had it as a ski ring.
He had his car keys.
Had, like, the metal ZZ Top.
Yeah.
It was like a promotional thing. I think for Eliminator, and like he had it on his keys. It was like it was on his keys. So a lot of that pop culture, design, a lot of those stuff. Those things were in our house. So it doesn't always mean that you keep collecting them, but we were given the choice of getting into it. And then every day you would go through the records and you'd be like, oh my God, what is this sleeve? What is this? What is the music here? So it's a visual stimulant in a way. And we've had it from early on. So it definitely has to do with where we come from, Dave and me.
Yeah, and especially record sleeves. Like record sleeves are the thing that, when you're a kid, especially back then, pre-internet, it was the internet. Like that's where you got all the
communication of the band and the look, everything. It could be style, art,
and so many little hints would maybe like, oh, that's that type of graphic design or this type of photography, or like that. It would lead you onto different paths, and same with magazines and that kind of stuff. I think it just I also understand that cerebrally for a whole generation there's a maybe a way of thinking of like, I want to hold on to physical media, I want to hold on to stuff, and that's we fully comprehend it. But I think in our case it's also just what we know, like it's just
language.
Yeah.
I got a question about your dad here, and like, do you recall any moments where you saw your father reacting to what he was bringing in? Like, was there a moment you could see that he was enjoying, that you were enjoying? Like, if my kid, like, we were singing a Pavement track together the other day.
What song?
Bring On the Major Leagues. It's another story, but I performed it with my son in a
oh wow!
An open mic night.
Oh wow!
And
wow! Well, let's pause.
Wow!
I want to hear this story.
What a good song!
That's amazing.
Yeah, I hadn't played live I used to be in bands as well, but I hadn't played live for like 12, 13 years, and guitars are literally in the attic. Like my SG, the combo locks broke. I can't get into it. It's just a metaphor for me and music, like instrument-based music. And someone was putting an open mic night on the Margate Assembly, and they were like, I was having a coffee. Oh, why don't you play? I was like, no, don't be silly. I don't play anymore. So just play. And some of my friends their son had played. He's like 7, nearly 8, and he absolutely killed it.
But he played the guitar.
Yeah. So I was influenced by this 8-year-old of my friend who played this gig already, and I was like, I'm too scared to do it on my own. I'll bring my 6-year-old on and try and steal the show with a bit of junior energy. And
so what did your son play?
He played a harmonica that belonged to his great-granddad during the war.
And you play guitar and sang?
And I play guitar, yeah. So he did harmonica and he sang on the chorus.
It's one of the most beautiful things you can do as a parent.
Why Pavement?
I feel like it's got like quite... The music feels quite like childlike in a way, and like there's a nursery rhyme element to it, and it's just also quite ridiculous in the best way. And I just thought like it sounds innocent. Obviously, a lot of the lyrics aren't innocent, maybe, but there's an innocence to it that I think made sense for a kid to join in. But
what a weird band.
Yeah, very weird band. But I'm a big fan.
I love them.
Yeah, they're so strange.
We once played a festival in Sweden, Dave. And I don't know if you remember.
I have no idea where this anecdote's going.
It's okay,
but it's really good. It was really good. And we go in, and it's like a private estate, but they do a festival there, and people are allowed to come in. But it's like a huge, like a nature reserve or something. And we're there, and the guy at the backstage was in his house. And his mom had made food for us, and we played, and it was like literally, I think even with Justice, it was Justice. It's the beginning of like night versions. Yeah. And we played there. I remember being in the house, and then going like, it's not like a real festival. It's like your mom's house. It's like in the back.
She's cooking. She's on the stove.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, it's amazing. And kids come, and everyone's really happy. And like once we had Pavement here, and they stayed for a whole week, and they helped us out with the garden. We redid the whole garden with
some shrubbing.
I And I remember going like, oh man, I liked him already, but I liked him even more.
But I think if I remember correctly, it wasn't Malcolmus. It was Gary Young.
I was Gary Young,
Plant Man.
Well, this is Gary Young period.
It was.
Because we were really, really into Plant Man, and we were like, and the guy was like, yeah, and they were so lovely, and they asked to stay a couple of days, and we put them up, and I was like, yeah, that's that band. It's amazing.
That is. It's just cementing my idea
I could
of
see
pavement.
Xavier and Gaspar look at me. What is this band?
But it doesn't answer his question.
Sorry.
Is there anything
Yeah, sorry,
where because I remember like there's a story. I wasn't there, but you tell a story of how our dad explained stereo to the concept of stereo.
It's true. I once asked my dad it's a long conversation. Is because I think there's 5 years difference between Dave and me, and so when I'm 6 or 7, they already taken me to see Mud and to go see a first version of Ian Jury, and so they would take me to gigs all the time. So for me, that world is like, oh yeah, it's the world. Like that's what my mom and dad live in. It's like, and I see Help, the Beatles, the film, and I go nuts. I go, what is this? Because I thought it was so funny with the ring and then the houses that were together. And I was like, my God, this is amazing. Yeah. And it was kind of a little bit like, not Monty Python-esque, but it had a bit of like that absurd humor.
For sure.
No, Help's a funny film, hands down. Like it's not.
So for me, and as a kid, that music, all of a sudden I was like, and my mom was like, oh, we have the record. So it was kind of, I went from me seeing it on the TV going like, oh, to my mom going like, oh, we can listen to the record. So I listened to the record. And so from there on, I would ask for records and I would play the records and whatever they had around. And then one day I was like, but what, on the stereo, it said stereo. And I was like, Dad, what is stereo? Like, and he would take me to the recording studios where they do like the TV and the radio. But I was like, what is stereo? And I could see my dad just go a little bit like we just talked about. Yeah. Dad, like, what is infinity? You know, when kids ask you these things, I could see my dad go like, oh, wait. And he goes and picks up a Led Zeppelin, Whole Lotta Love, puts it on, puts me in front of the speakers. And then at the part where the breakdown goes, it goes left, right, left, right, left, right. He's like, see, left, right, in the middle, stereo. That's what it is. And I remember going there, okay, got it, thanks.
And that was it. The world changed from that moment.
And it was just his way of, like, the only way he could explain it was that.
Yeah.
But so that was around us all the time.
But it's slightly different, though, from what you had, which is, I think, perhaps a more beautiful experience in that you share an experience with your child. I think in our case, it was a bit more like imagine your dad's a butcher and you're around
making meatballs.
Yeah.
It was also annoying. Like most of the time it was annoying for us because we would get kids would like just make fun of us at school because it was on TV and like anything, you know, like it's not like something you look forward to.
Yeah.
And also being my dad, who he is, now it's a funny thing, but for instance, there was an instance where there was a Eurovision contest, and my dad and some other people from from TV, they were in a jury panel to decide who was going to be the Belgian nominee to go, and they decided to elect this new wave band that was called Pas de Deux, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But of course, they got the lowest points ever. But it was almost like a punk statement from them, from like, why does it have to be bad music? It could just be like, and it's really cool. But the day afterwards, when I went to school, everyone was like, what's wrong with your dad, man? Like, what? So you would get picked on, and like you would be like, and now I can tell the story, and it's a fun story. But like when you were a kid and you were like 10 or 11, and you want to like, I don't know, be cool and stuff like that, and then you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, why do you have to go there?
Damn. So that,
so it's like a little bit of, I mean, it's a very privileged way to grow up, but it also is a bit, it's a bit like the Wizard of Oz. You see what's behind the curtain, and you see how people react to it and stuff like that. But then for the pop culture point, I mean, it's amazing because we had all that stuff lying around us, and I guess,
and also I think at the time we acutely aware of how different it was from other, like, school kids' experience. Sure.
Can I quickly go to the bathroom?
If you're enjoying the pod today, don't forget to like and subscribe.
So anyway, Steph did nothing and I did everything. Just wanted to say.
Yeah, exactly. Steph's lying.
Basically, I'm the mastermind genius, and
it's the big reveal right here.
Quite early on, in the '60s, he was a contemporary of like Tony Blackburn, and and so when that generation went onto the boats, initially he wasn't asked, but I think kind of mid '70s he was asked to do it where like you're on the boat for a week or 2 weeks and then you come back, and because of us he didn't end up doing it.
So he made that decision to stick with the boys.
Yeah,
I think that's
so it's not all bad
You
stuff.
were adopted, so
It doesn't make sense.
make this.
that must have been hard for him to say no.
Oh,
He spoke to him about this.
He says it wasn't.
He was already on TV here, and I think, in a way,
Right.
what we need to preface is that my dad is more of a, I think the French word is raconteur.
Yeah.
He's somebody who has an amazing voice, radio voice, TV voice, who likes to talk. And I don't think music is the most important thing for him. It was more about being behind the microphone and doing it.
Okay.
And I guess for us it's very different. We're I think it's primarily the music for us.
We didn't inherit the vocal authority.
Because he could read a menu and people listen.
Yeah.
And
I guess you both sing though, right? So it's sort of-
but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
The thing that is interesting is that the dynamic between him and our mum was such that she was often tasked with going through the records that were sent, like promotional records that were.
So your mum opened the packages.
So she would be the one making the selection.
She'd make the selection, or she would go to London without him because he's like, and come back with, I don't know, the first Tom Tom Club record or something like that. So my mom has amazing taste, and I think that musical side comes more from that side. And in a way, because a lot of people think it's our dad, and of course, like he was influential in the way of explaining stereo and maybe where some of his friends were in which band and did what. But I don't think for him the making of music or whatever we ended up doing, it surprised him as well. Like he was literally like, "Oh, you guys sure?"
That's not a real career.
Didn't say it like that, but kind of was looking at us all right, guys, you're from Belgium. It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be an easy one here, but what you're trying to do. So, yeah.
Wow. At what point, just again looking back here to that like kind of the primordial soup of everything you've done, it's sort of what was the first? Can you recollect a moment where the influence of your mum bringing the records home, etc. When you started to seek stuff out yourself as a pair of brothers or individually, can you?
So it's very different for me than for Steph, because I almost like by osmosis, I was exposed to everything that was already happening. Like we just talked about, like our dad was on radio and he was, like he was flown out to New York for Rod Stewart's new album, for the promotional release or something for this, right? So that part of his life, and then like we just mentioned, our mum was the one who maybe was, I would still say, maybe slightly more passionate about it, right? And really constantly looking for stuff that would excite her. And then this guy is even tenfold what they were. So what he would do is he would go and look for everything that my dad wouldn't get, right? So
which is that's what a kid's dynamic should look like, right?
And so he would. I mean, I'll let him tell that story. But I was exposed to my brother's fanatic music obsession, and it being so prevalent around my parents as well. So which means by the age of 10, I went through my Motown period, Like, you know, like which is
The Motown years.
like it's which seems like such a weird thing to say, but like what it meant was like with other school kids, I had zero musical connect. Like that didn't exist. Like it wasn't something I could even talk about. So it felt very private, and it wasn't until, for me personally, music became something that I bought a guitar and started playing. That's when our musical connection started. But
how old were you at that point?
I was maybe 16, 15, 16.
Maybe
Yeah.
16, 17.
Yeah, something like this.
And where was the world at then? Without
It was 91.
confirming ages, but like it'd be good to know what was going on.
In
culturally.
91, I was obsessed with Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah,
and I was obsessed with Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
same pretty
Yeah.
much.
But by then, Steph had already exposed me to early Def Jam. Steph had already exposed me to New Wave. Like he was obsessed with Human League. He was obsessed with. Sorry, what am I missing, Steph?
New Order.
Yeah. So many big albums that I know by heart. I can probably sing every lyric, only because my brother was blasting them in his room.
You had separate rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were next to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
so.
And I guess also the point that Guns N' Roses comes out, where I'm already deeply into, I don't know, Faith No More or like Masters of Reality, and then out of that whole thing comes. Cause also we were talking about this week. Ghent's a weird place. At that point, everyone here in Ghent wanted to make techno, because right after New Beat, I think something happens here with RNS label and everything, where it's all techno, it's all electronic music, and we and a couple of our friends not rebelled against it, but I think we kind of went the opposite way. We were looking for old Hammond organs, we were looking for Leslie's, like orange speakers, and we were going to see, I don't know, like a lot of the Sub Pop records, and it was a totally different thing, and I guess it was maybe a bit us trying to have our own little world.
Yeah,
I think it's super normal when you're a teenager. You look at what the generation who are maybe like 6 or 7 years older than you. You look whatever they're doing, and you go the other way because you're like, I don't want to. That already in your mind, those people are old.
You don't want to do what the old guys.
You don't want to do what they're doing.
But it did. I mean, we were chatting about this before with the rave game, board game over there, which you very kindly showed me before.
But we should all play.
Let's have a game of rave after this. But it felt like the lines between the genres that you like were really defined back then, and it was like you were either, and that had a huge history from the 50s, 60s onwards, and I feel like those lines they're gone.
Yeah,
right?
completely blurred. Yeah,
they've completely blurred, which is maybe a good thing. It's good.
I think so.
But in a way, like I guess when we were growing up here, so a lot of people into psychobilly, like a lot of like bands like Guana Bots and everyone had quiffs. And
King Kurt.
King Kurt. They have the bomber jackets, and they had the boots on, and also the band called Ugg and the Caveman, and all these. It's a bit like the Cramps. Like it was like punk, but with a rockabilly edge. I think that's what Stray Cats comes from, and a lot of that stuff. But there was a whole scene of people here around us who were really into it, and they all had like the quips, and but really cool. And then New Beat happens, and a lot of that fashion gets appropriated, I think, in what we now see as boy, or like whatever people were wearing when they were going to the Boccaccio. They were taking that rockabilly aesthetic and just turning it around. And so I guess what was really fun about that time was that you could see a lot of these worlds, they submerged. I think people who were listening to Public Enemy were equally listening to Slayer or to other things. And so there was a mixture of how people, how they were clothed, what they were doing. And that was really interesting to see, that in a span of maybe, say, 10 or 15 years, you just saw people trying out different things. And I see a lot of young kids now reference back to the 80s and the 90s, mostly now to the 90s, as this period where, like, what is this music? How did you make this? And it's interesting because we really lived it, and I think there was always this desire of, another format or CDs but always that one step behind you, looking at but there's a really good amp from the 70s. That's the microphone you should use. So the all those worlds kind of collided still always, and I think something happens there, and I think for us maybe in mind consciousness. Seeing all those things happening, but then on the main, also, my dad would get all the mainstream records, but you would see Laurie Anderson or Superman be like a number one song in Holland, and you're like, life is amazing.
Yeah,
because this thing that objectively is not a hit single is by a lot of people being bought, and they go, I want to have this. This is amazing, and it's I think that's something that's fascinated Dave and me in a lot of things. When something it's
sort of submerges from the underground, and it's almost by mistake becomes a hit single. You mentioned
it's musically, but it can also be like an object or stuff like that. Because I remember in those days, a lot of the stuff you see around you is us going to flea markets, but flea markets were the best thing in the world. Like we would literally sometimes go and play and then stay up to go to be the first at the flea market, and we would always find stuff.
Like always, like guaranteed.
Always.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah. Like and always
solid gold.
And it was solid gold. It was like really solid gold. I mean, those times have gone, but when people come into our studio, they go like, "Oh my God, you have this!" And you're like, "Yeah, but it wasn't expensive." And sometimes it was like £5, and we'd still bargain him down to £3 while we know it's like worth 300.
That explains why you have so much stuff downstairs.
Oh yeah, but I mean, but there's also this thing in us where we would go into a town and look for the record store, the bookstore, the music store. Like
the embarrassing thing is we still are those guys. It's just that flea markets aren't the place where you find that stuff anymore.
I mean, I was going to ask that. Like, where are you guys sort of at now? Obviously, back in the day, you had more time. You and the fleas, you kind of hitting the stores. But I mean, now
it depends on what for, right? Because unfortunately, I think I explained this to you. One of the dangers of people knowing that you have rare stuff.
Now we're in a totally different
is
ballgame.
that people come to you and say, "Oh, you have this, but do you have this?"
Or even more beautiful.
Is that a flex, or is that like a?
Not from our end.
No. I mean from their end. Like,
No. They come to us and be like, I think.
No, but there's responsibility with it. It's really, it's a good we're talking about, because we, people will come to us and be like, "Hey, here's the master tape to I don't know what," and they'll be like, "I have it, but I want you guys to have it, and I want you to take care of it." And so this has happened to books, and to somebody came here with like his whole Joy Division collection and was like, "I want it to be here because I know you guys love them. It will be safe here, and it's amongst people, and something good comes out of this," which is really sweet.
That is.
But it brings up a bit of responsibility
it's
as well.
A lot of admin.
So when we're talking now, like we talked about the fine line between being a hoarder or just an enthusiast.
Yeah.
But when you get the responsibility with it, you become a museum in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like in between those three things all the time.
And luckily with musical gear and with records, we can lie to ourselves and say, "Oh, we need the tools," like, "Oh, we need them for our," like, it's not true. Like you can make a great record with a laptop and a microphone, but
3 microphones.
Or similar with you can have a DJ career without having 60,000 vinyl.
Without having one vinyl.
Yeah. So we keep fooling ourselves and thinking like, these 200.
It's fooling ourselves. It's more like
it's whatever
you get away with it.
Yeah, it's whatever you use to explain to yourself, like, why did I just buy 200 records in San Francisco, Steph? Is
that a call out?
That's real
records. Yeah. How'd you get that home? You ship it?
Oh,
there's ways. Yeah.
There's ways.
Oh, there's ways. Tell me later.
No, but I don't mind saying it. But we when we ship stuff out to, so we were doing Despacio, so we have all the records there. We have always 2 empty cases with us.
Yeah.
So you can always put stuff in and get it back.
It's the empty bag case.
It's what we do. We've learned that early on. So I think the Beastie Boys were the first ones to do that when they go to Japan, and they had like an empty case. No, they put something in that's really worth nothing. Go to Japan, you leave it there, and then you pack it full of stuff that you really like.
You buy.
And you just,
Genius. That's, I guess, where I want to go next. Where do I want to go next after that? That's a little brain freeze.
It's okay.
Well, I guess you were asking like where do we get stuff, and I think like a lot of people on the internet, but we prefer of course like seeing it in person. But I think it's just a little bit less of a hunt. Like right now, it's not like we're not actively looking for anything, so it's just whatever comes our way.
Right.
Which is
we're also
nice.
not completists, which I think is a very important thing. If you do stuff like this, we're not looking to have all of them of a certain artist or something. We're looking for the ones that we like. And I guess we built up, I think our selection is very close to what we like. Yeah.
Right. And you like, because I like don't really buy records anymore. I like buy a couple a year for myself, maybe max. And it's the same with like, flicking through a rack, or like for me as well, like going through a clothing rail, that muscle memory of just doing this, or the smell, the aroma of a record store or a vintage store, maybe not so much, but like
you show 'em the vintage t-shirts.
Oh no, that's a whole other.
Oh gosh,
it's a whole other thing. Yeah.
We found some insane stuff.
Okay, we might have to.
Sorry.
That would be great. I mean, but I think for me, it's just like I try to suppress it a little bit because I have a family and etc. and it is my work. But when you find yourself in that record store in San Francisco, or the aroma of a vinyl hits you, and you just kind of like, do you find yourself just like falling into the abyss?
No, but there's no. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that I know so well now what I have and don't have. But I also know when the selection is pretty insane.
Yeah.
When I go like, wow, whoever had this or whoever's selling this is giving me new stuff, or like stuff that I had no clue about, or never seen this before. It starts with never seen this.
Yeah.
And then if I go deeper in, most of the time it's like, oh, we bought a collection from a person. And then you start to see that person, the way he was thinking about music. I'm talking records now. Huh? Maybe with books it's the same. But I still find stuff all the time.
Yeah, it
doesn't stop. And how can I explain this?
I think someone said to me once, like, once you start, it's endless.
Yeah, and I think it's
like infinity.
It is an infinity thing, and I think it's the same because we're collecting these things now: records, musical instruments, books. But I guess it's the same when I talked with Elizabeth about like people who collect paintings from the 15th century, or like or drawings, or first. Sketches, etches, or stuff like that. Like I do think once you get into, you find these things, and what it always does is it shows you another person involved in the process.
Yeah,
could be an engineer, could be a studio, could be a graphic designer, and then this world opens up.
Well, that's the thing. So for me, it's not about the physical aspect like you describe in the store. It's more that, like you buy that one little magazine that you've never heard of, but it's got whatever, Grace Jones Devo and whatever, something, another thing that's obvious, right? So you're like, oh, that's interesting.
He's buying it.
From 1978, I've never seen this magazine before.
It's already in his bag.
But what that will bring with it is undoubtedly there'll be some article about something that I've never heard of, or some graphic designer like I've never seen, and that will bring me down a rabbit hole. And that's kind of the purpose, because that's really it. It's not it's not necessarily about the flex of having it, like showing like, here's the thing. It's more like, oh wow, that or making connections between like, oh, I'm a huge fan of whatever David Sylvian and that person, and oh, there's a connection there where I wasn't unaware of it. So that to me is that journey is that whether it's magazines like I just said, or even furniture or musical instruments, it's the sort of the rabbit hole that it brings you down, which I think for a lot of people the internet has become, right? And
absolutely.
I try to not that I'm trying to stay away from the internet, but that rabbit hole on the internet feels more just feels more tainted. Like, 'cause it sometimes I'm not 100% sure, but if I see it in the magazine, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, and I guess those old magazines are really consumable. They finish. They only have so many pages.
Exactly.
And every page, you don't really know what's going to be next.
Yeah. And a lot of throwaway stuff.
But also like a lot of advertisements for things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Stores that don't
Listings.
exist anymore, where you go like, oh my God, yeah, there must have been. And then when you go to that place and you find somebody from the era and you go like, did you ever go to that store? And they're like, yeah, and the guy lives around the corner. And then, wait, let me call him up. And then you meet the guy and he's like, yeah, I still have some shirts. And you're like, wow. And like that whole, it's being a researcher in a way. In a way, that's something I think we're addicted to.
Is the research more than the actual owning?
Yeah.
It's that there's a story there as well. And and sometimes it comes with a physical product.
Yeah. And that bounces around. Even me being here in the space today and finding a Brian Eno autumn newsletter from 1978, and just like, I've never seen that before. I'm a huge Eno fan, but then that informs me to go and look for other things. And it's just that for me, that path and that passing of culture, just by having it in a space is.
I guess
a wonderful thing.
that was the whole idea with the building. I think even the Thomas Hamil studio, when he comes here, for him, the fact that he can just stay like half a day here, go through things, just gives him ideas the whole time. He's like, that's like gold for me. And I guess that's what we wanted a little bit, was like a place where we put all the stuff that we've been collecting or we've been gathering. Or same with the records downstairs. Like I said, the records downstairs started off a little bit as we need this, to maybe you want to listen to this, to now, oh my God, thank you, I will take care of it. Which is a very weird thing, because now sometimes I walk into the library and it doesn't feel like it's my records anymore. They've become the records of the studio. And like, I think people who work here or artists who come here, they constantly discover things. And it's really cool, because you come in the morning and then you'll see that somebody's taken out, I don't know, Brain Ticket. And you're like, oh wow, you got into Brain Ticket. And like, yeah, I was like, what is this? And then be like, oh, it's I think it's passing that on a little bit, but on people's own terms.
Yeah,
you can just decide what you want to go through and find.
Yeah, I mean, speaking personally, like the friends I always loved the most were the ones that handed music over, handed film over.
Of course,
but those were the best
over.
people. Like we have a couple of
check this out.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
we have a kid.
For a lot of people that has been replaced by the internet now. That's kind of what I meant earlier, and
that's a good point.
I don't. There's no worse or better, and that's just how it is now. Like, so I do understand that for a whole generation, they are interested by what they can't have, right? So that is I get it, but I think for us it's more that's just how it just feels normal to us. It's not something, and I always feel a bit ambiguous about like being an old guy saying, "Oh, it used to be better." Yeah, you know,
adopted old.
But the one thing that I think is just objectively something that at the time we didn't realize, but throughout our life, youth, there was just, you know how I was mentioning earlier, like, oh, I had the Motown period by the time I was 10, and like we didn't even mention Prince, like or hip, you know, like or early techno or new beat. Like there's this thing that we were conditioned, and I want to say we, I don't mean just Dave and Steph. I think like we as a generation and generations prior to us were so used to every other 2 years or 3 years there being a completely new thing. Like it was just like, oh, let's clean slate. We're all into acid jazz now. Clean slate. We're all into. You know what I mean? Like, and that thing is something that we were conditioned to that.
But it still exists, and I think we're really good at.
It still exists, Steph, but it doesn't exist on
a scale
musically on that scale.
No,
like that was the thing where
I don't know. Maybe I kind of feel that's coming back in a way. I see a lot of young kids now go off the chosen digital paths and how the, for the lack of a word, because it's not even an industry, but whatever that music business is, I see them make their own events, do their own thing. I don't know. Like I think it's maybe
okay. That might be true, but it's still a minority.
Yeah.
Whereas it's something like rave.
Dave,
all of a sudden,
but when we went to see Tad and Nirvana or Monster Magnet or Gwar or any of those bands, we were only there was only 130 people there.
Yeah, but my counter.
But we knew all of them.
Yeah, no, but
it's pretty cool that you went now.
What I'm trying to say is that Nirvana did then wipe a clean slate. Like,
of course. But when we all went to see Nirvana, none of us were like, "Oh, this band's going to be the biggest thing in the world." They were just part of a thing, of a culture that we would go to. We would go to Eindhoven and we would go to other places.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that all those subcultures might exist, but we live in a time now where you described it earlier. Like there
hasn't been a new Nirvana.
And there probably might never be one because it will never, like we don't live in a monoculture anymore. So because it's so splintered and everyone, like you mentioned earlier, everyone listens to such a broad spectrum of music, and everyone is into Aphex Twin and something rock and Beyonce, and like that's normal now, right?
It's encouraged.
Yeah. So
it's
now,
good to
now
say
you need to
that.
say what the rock thing is, because I'm like,
whatever, like
Aphex Twin, Beyonce,
everyone has Motorhead was mentioned earlier.
Yes,
that's not a minority thing. Like it's just everyone's into a bit of everything. Yeah. Which again, I'm not saying there's anything worse or better. It's just what that brings with it is that the thing I just described of like, oh well, this is for the next however long, 5 or 2 months or 3 years. This is we're punk, we're acid house, we're that, and I just don't, because it's so splintered by definition. I don't feel that now, and there might be subcultures that are amazing, but it doesn't swipe the mainstream culture or popular culture the way we were used to it. And that's the one thing that I think I understand. No, not that I miss, but I understand that that a younger generation misses. I get that they're like, oh well, that's
they look back and feel like, oh, I wish
we missed out on
which
that.
I remember being in the 90s and my mum and dad going, it's not like 67 now, is it?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I don't know, I wasn't there. So listen to this record.
But also like a lot of these things that are referred to even early 2000s now, or like earlier, they weren't that insane. They weren't that good also. and I kind of feel like I see
names.
No. But I mean, a lot of people are rewriting history, which is their prerogative. But I do think this need for a tangible thing, a tangible culture, subculture, counterculture, for younger people to believe in or to know that it even existed. You kind of also have to understand the world we were living in, I think. And then when you look at the world we live in now, I'm not so pessimistic, because I do feel a lot of young people, with all the choices they have, are making pretty clear decisions.
That's true.
Which I think is pretty amazing. And I kind of have to say, in their curationship of whatever we've lived or lived like in actual life, their choices are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like it could have been worse.
I agree.
I think it's happening again. I'm getting excited about bands again for the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
in
Well,
like,
yeah, I
in
think like a
20
band.
years, it's great.
Like a band like Turnstile.
Yeah.
I remember when we first heard it, we were kind of like, yes, I wasn't that blown away. But then once I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, but I totally understand this now.
Yeah.
This is not unsimilar to how I felt when I saw Fate No More for the first time.
Yeah.
And I went, what is this music? Where does this come? And it took me into this whole. So I understand it now. Like I do feel. The hunger for unified goods, or maybe for people here to be inspired by a lot of these things.
Yeah.
If it can contribute to some of that, then amazing.
Oh,
then
absolutely.
the hoarding was okay.
Yeah.
It was all worth it.
We've been redeemed for our
Just looking for excuses,
collector's
so
ways.
none of our girlfriends go, "What are you doing?"
That's how it started for me, because I was getting too many packages at the house. So she was like, "What are you going to do with all this stuff?" And I was like, "Maybe you should sell it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I need to do."
We've never sold anything.
You've not sold one thing. You must have traded.
The fact that he was like,
You didn't trade a VG Plus for an X.
Yeah, maybe we
on.
might have traded a few things, but we're not really. Maybe one day.
we're not sellers.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll need to at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Should we move on to the formats a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah.
So on this table here, anyone familiar with Unified Goods should know what a long box is.
I used to love these.
Can you tell me the first time you handled a long box?
I think it was in
In America, no?
yeah.
They were in the States primarily, right?
Yeah. So they were there because people, I think, were going to vinyl, and then CDs were like, there's no way they could use.
I think the reason they made them is because most record store chains had shelves that were built for 12-inch.
Final, yeah.
And so all of a sudden CDs wouldn't fit in the shelves anymore. So people were just used to doing this, and then they built this, which is essentially a ridiculous.
I really love this
great.
format. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Me too.
But I guess Dave's right. When the first time we went to America, and they were also not that expensive.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty. But I think the whole CD thing, kind of. I mean, there's always like a bit of a love-hate relationship with it, because it didn't always sound better. But then some things on CD really that were made at the moment sounded amazing. I think.
Yeah.
Were really made for CD. And I think every Soulwax CD that we've made, there's a -1 track if you rewind before the 0.
Have you done that on every record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do stuff with it. That's stuff that, I mean, people could do like grooves that I keep going, infinite grooves and stuff. But so with the format, there's something about the format that I thought the format had, by the way, also was done.
Yeah.
And then last 2 records we made, or every record on Deewee that we made, the record company's been saying, no, you need to make CDs as well, because that's still the main market in Holland, Belgium, and Germany. And I was like, wait, but who still has the CD players? Like, where does this go?
No, there's a whole resurgence.
Yeah. So yeah.
And it's a cool object.
It is.
A compact
It's
disc. Yeah.
objectively pretty lucky, pretty beautiful to look at.
Not as good as a laser disc, though.
That is the most beautiful
The
one.
daddy of all the laser products.
But I remember as a kid,
Daddy of all the laser
the advantage was the fact that you could program your, like, if you had a record that you liked, but you hated track 3 and 5, there were CD players where you could just program it to play 1, 2, 7, and 8. That was a huge advantage. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
That was, for me, and the fact that you didn't have to flip it over.
Yeah. Also, the CD tray as well, like the kind of
Beautiful. Yeah.
Like, I remember my dad putting CDs on it. It just sounded, and it like just the kind of the sound that it made before the music played was kind of, it just felt like it was from the future.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I agree.
But so the long box was pretty short lived, though, right? It didn't. It was a fleeting moment.
I think just until
Maybe a
record
year
store,
or 2, 3.
Yeah, until record store chains rebuilt their stores for CDs.
CDs.
Yeah.
That's it really was like they had just thousands and thousands of stores that were built for 12-inch, and that was the transitional period.
I
But
did read
It's like
somewhere
half a record.
Yeah, I did read somewhere that it was also they're hardest to steal.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so big?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there was a concern that CDs were like quite
Easy
a pocketable item, and
Okay,
it's the more cynical viewpoint, but
fair enough.
I don't know if that's true.
Cool.
But yeah, there is an empty space, but I guess you could fit 2 CDs in there.
Guess, yeah.
Some did, I think.
Really?
There was a couple where I had 2 CDs in a long box. Yeah.
Hmm.
Apparently David Byrne, I can't remember what album it was, but he stuck a sticker on the top half saying, "This is garbage." And that was that whole sustainability, environmental thing back then.
Oh,
And
he's
it was-
right.
Yeah, he's right. It's a
Wow.
waste of space.
But I kind of like it.
Unless you put something useful in it.
That's
But,
one. That's a good one to look for now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know which album. I guess it was late 80s, early 90s. So moving on, I actually want one of you guys to open this one up.
I'm going to have
It's
a
the
look.
big reveal.
I haven't seen any of these.
So these are mini disc.
But I used to buy a lot of music. So I think if you go in here, like this was a Bowie one, Herbie Hancock one,
Nice.
The Clash, all the
Singles.
singles. I really love the see-through red ones. Like they had them in all colors. They were really, really cool. No,
Yeah.
they were really beautiful. This is Radiohead, I think. Yeah, I collected some of them, like, and I had a little pouch, but this was all Japan. I remember, like, the first time we went to Japan. When was the first time we went with Soulwax?
2000, I think. Yeah.
2000 or a little bit. Oh no, we went with the band before. No,
No, first time you and I went to do promo. Yeah. That was
1997, 8.
No, I think it was 2000.
Yeah.
99 or 2000.
99. And I think you could buy mini discs.
In Japan,
And they had a pouch for
right.
it. You could, of
course they did.
I was like, yeah, it was amazing. And they had little speakers with it as well.
Yeah.
Tiny little speakers that you could put into the mini disc player. It's kind of like a little mini stereo.
And
There must be some here.
But people are still. Do you think people are still using mini discs today? Is that? I mean, there's a market for the.
There has to
A
be
good friend of ours, David Rudnick, who's a graphic designer, made a whole thing, sort of like. He had all these different versions of mini disc, all the colors, all the different, and he used them as sort of as a how did you call that? When the crypto thing happened,
NFT.
NFTs. But it was kind of really beautiful because he made posters of them.
Yeah.
It's just as an object, they're really, really pretty.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the fact that it's like the mini little brother of the big daddy
It's
of
the format family.
The format, the Laser family.
Be a great sitcom.
The
wouldn't
Laser
it?
family.
So you recorded onto mini disc. Yeah,
is
the
pretty.
Laser
That's
family.
good. Big Daddy,
Daddy Laser
long
disc.
box, mini one.
So you recorded onto these guys, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, because
in the day.
it was like an easy way to because prior to that in the studio we would use DATs, and they were always a bit.
But you could take this home and sample something, or like take something from a track, and you would bring it back into the studio. And, it was
and not to
easy
get
one.
too nerdy, but
Please do.
Compression.
CDs, yeah, there's a bit of compression.
There's a
that
bit of
happens
compression
on the,
in it
on the
that
mini
sounds
disc.
good.
So CDs of
It sounds good, the compression.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's good
kind of
compression.
CDs are 44.1 kilohertz and
Nerd.
Decimal places now.
and mini disc are I think 33 point something. So there was always a bit of like degeneration that sounded nice,
Yeah.
like tape, if you will, but
Yeah.
but the newer version.
There you go. Well, they're super collectible, right? Like sort of.
Apparently,
Yeah, no. I mean,
this is mine.
yeah.
We found this in a box maybe a couple of months ago, but I've always been a bit. We have a whole box of them because last couple of years, I think before COVID, I saw a lot of people selling clear ones, and I really loved all the colors. They have them in all the shades: blue, yellows,
Full
greens.
rainbow.
Super beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful format.
Big fan.
Me too.
And next up we have the 8-track, which is going back in time a little bit.
Yeah, they're much older. 8-tracks are more like a 70s thing, and it was also, I think, mainly a US kind of thing. And the advantage there was that it was, if I remember correctly, what the advantage is that you could fast forward. The way players worked is that it would have bits where you just push a button and it would already skip 3-4 minutes ahead. So the thing was that, like, you instead of on a cassette where you'd have to fast forward and just kind of wait, this would be like click, and it would already
do that again.
But this would you'd push a button and it was already had skipped to perhaps not exactly the next song, but like 2-3 minutes after. Yeah,
we there was a time when we would go to America, and Dave and me would find them all the time, and like we have some really good ones, some really cool ones. Like I think some Sabbath ones and some. But the cool thing was, like, I think we also had one to be put in a car. No,
Steve Martin, wild and crazy guy. Yeah, amazing.
Didn't we have like a thing like? Didn't you have it in your car?
I have a portable.
You had a portable one in your car.
No, but that's true. We once rented a car in the US where it had an
8-track in, and we were like, yes.
Because that was they were played in cars primarily, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's another
format we love.
It's another format.
I guess your parents maybe were 8-tracks in Europe?
No, it was it's a US thing.
Totally US.
So I guess it wasn't a European thing. I think our mom and dad, like those days, it was cassettes. My mom would make cassettes for the car.
Yeah,
I remember
mixtapes.
She would make mixtapes, and good selections. Really.
Now it all makes sense. Where
that's our mom.
I did have one more question, mainly regarding Ghent, and you were talking about new beat and techno, and at what point did you? Well, obviously, like, you kind of rebelled against it in those early days.
Yes.
At what point did you think, actually, that was really cool?
It was not that long after.
I don't think we.
It wasn't long.
No, it was. I remember. This is kind of a coincidence, but one of the stars of that era was a guy called Frank de Wolf, he's still around. He's a great guy. We love him, and he'd gone into post-production,
audio visual, like, so his next thing after being a techno legend was gonna he wanted to become like
Lucasfilms
or something, like trailers for movies and like digital manipulation. And he was totally into it, like really far.
And I think he's best friends with Renat, who's the R in RNS, and so quite early on when we signed, I think mid to late 90s, it was so cool that they were just totally open to what we were doing. They were like, what these guys are doing is great. And I remember at the time it was already like, oh, maybe we can find a way to find the link between maybe futurism and whatever you guys are doing.
Which was retroism. Ours was retroism,
and
100%.
And we bought a sampler, and I guess eventually we found our own way, but it wasn't that long. It's not like that rebellion that we explained or that you picked up on. I don't think it was that cut clear as in like, we were open to all that stuff. Steph was into Future Sound of London.
But also Dave, but I think when we went to this, for the first Soulwax record, we went to Sound City in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And we recorded it with Chris Goss from Massive Reality, who then done the Caius records. And we were asked to go to America and to do it. And the PS, the Belgian label, was like, you guys go. So Dave and me were having the time of our life. But while we were doing that, we're making a rock record. Like, we're guitars and it's like live drums, and we're in Sound City. And then at one point he was like, we should do something with a sampler. And it was so easy for Dave and me. We just made a beat, Dave went over it, and like, but for us, it was like, okay, we'll do this thing. We know how to do this. Yeah. And he was like, wait, guys, like, this is pretty insane what you guys are doing. And I guess it took a while for us, up until we worked at Flood, for us to understand that
to embrace it.
To embrace it, and just to go, we can actually do all those things. We can incorporate them. because for us they were separate in a way, you know, like that.
Yeah, right.
That we were making real music
with live instrumentation,
which is still something that I think is one of the highest art forms. But it doesn't mean that you can't put rave sounds in it, or you can't use some of that aesthetic, because that also comes from a lot of the first techno, and that comes from the first new wave records, and that comes from the first Kraftwerks, and that comes from like you can keep going. So there's no real manual to do that, and I think we kind of it took other people, other producers like Goss or Dave Sardi or Flood, to kind of show to Dave and me, like, you guys, you have it all in the bag. It's there. Why are you hesitant to do it? And when we made the Any Minute Now record, which was it's like a lot of stuff happening with too many DJs was blowing up. And after we finished the record, we went straight into the studio, made night versions. And that just was probably the easiest record we've ever made.
That was the moment.
Because it's the moment where we also go, oh, but wait, wouldn't it be better if we would go into a club and play live with live instruments, but nobody notices that we're there? That was the goal. The goal was to go on to, and there's a big festival here in Belgium called Pukkelpop, and they had, for the first time on this, one of the, it's like Reading in Leeds, and they had a dance stage. And we said, could we come and play your dance day? And they were like, no, you're from the other side.
Yeah, the other side of the fence.
And they're like, we don't have live microphones on this stage. It's just DJs and stuff. But they granted us to do it. And I remember we only had 30 minutes, so we did it there, and the place went crazy because those kids also didn't expect us. They also didn't expect a band to play, but we killed it. And I guess that's the point where a lot of, because we already had the Too Many DJ world, but a lot of these things came together. Yeah. And so they were maybe in our DNA for a long, long time. We just didn't know how to employ them or to massage them, and that's the thing.
I agree.
There you go. That answered the question beautifully.
Or not.
Or not. Dave, Steph, thank you.
James,
thank
you, man.
James, thank you for coming all the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely amazing. Pleasure to be here. All good?
We're good.
We good?
Yeah.
You good?
You good?
I was born good.